Lawrence Cole, the third man in the ring. Keys to victory for Margarito. Defense against the angle and attack. Use your power. Constantly attack.
Disrespecting Manny Pacquiao might be one of the dumbest things anyone could ever do. But some fighters have tried, only to pay a heavy price inside the ring. Antonio Margarito was no different. The tough Mexican fighter believed he had the tools to take down Pacquiao and didn't shy away from trash talk. But little did he know, he was setting himself up for one of the most brutal beatings in boxing history. The rise of Antonio Margarito. Antonio Margarito wasn't just another opponent. He was a fierce Mexican warrior known for his relentless pressure, iron chin, and ability to go to war inside the ring. Margarito was no joke. He came to fight, leaving no food on the table, taking every opportunity to break his opponents down. His name started buzzing in the boxing world when he secured one of the biggest wins of his career, a brutal and unforgettable victory over Miguel Cotto. The fight was an all-out war, leaving Cotto battered and suffering his first professional loss. That victory elevated Margarito to superstar status, making him a feared name in the sport. However, his career took a dark turn in 2009 when he was caught in a major scandal just before his fight against Shane Mosley. The hand wrap controversy. During pre-fight inspections, Margarito's hand wraps were found to contain a hardened substance that resembled plaster. The California State Athletic Commission determined that his hand wraps were illegal, leading to immediate outrage. Despite this discovery, the fight went on,
surgieron los problemas del entrenador de Mosley
and Margarito suffered a crushing defeat against Mosley. But the real question remained, how many of his previous opponents had suffered due to his dangerous and illegal tactics? The scandal led to a suspension, forcing Margarito out of the ring for over a year. But in 2010, he made his return, fighting Roberto Garcia in Mexico and securing a unanimous decision victory. That win set him up for a highly anticipated showdown against none other than Manny Pacquiao for the WBC Super Welterweight title. Margarito's bold claims. Despite being disgraced by the hand wrap scandal, Margarito showed no humility heading into the Pacquiao fight. Instead, he doubled down, verbally attacking Pacquiao and his legendary trainer, Freddie Roach. Margarito and his camp openly mocked Roach's Parkinson's disease, with some of his team members even making tasteless gestures imitating Roach's condition. Margarito himself declared that Pacquiao had no chance, boasting that he would knock him out with an uppercut or body shot. But while Margarito talked, Pacquiao stayed silent. The Filipino legend had never been one for words. He let his fists do the talking. And on fight night, Margarito learned the hard way why that was a mistake. Fight night, Pacquiao versus Margarito. Both fighters made weight, and the stage was set. Antonio Margarito stood at a towering 5'11", with a massive size and reach advantage over the 5'6" and a half Pacquiao. Margarito also entered the ring nearly 20 pounds heavier on fight night, making him a full-fledged middleweight while Pacquiao remained a natural welterweight. But none of that mattered once the bell rang. Round 1. Pacquiao's speed versus Margarito's power. Right from the start, Pacquiao's hand speed was on full display. His jab controlled the distance, and his signature left hand found its mark early.
The people who can tell you if they use it or not. It's him or any member of his team. I just carry my defeat like a man the whole way.
Have you ever asked him?
I don't have to ask him. A lot of people ask him.
Margarito tried to pressure Pacquiao, but the Filipino's footwork made it nearly impossible to pin him down. Margarito, known for his aggressive style, struggled to land clean punches as Pacquiao darted in and out, peppering him with quick combinations. The first round was all Pacquiao, setting the tone for what would become a masterclass performance. Middle rounds, the beating begins. By the fourth round, Pacquiao was in complete control. His left hand repeatedly crashed into Margarito's face, opening up a cut under his right eye. Margarito tried to rally, backing Pacquiao into the ropes and unloading shots to the body. But Pacquiao was unfazed. In round 6, Pacquiao unleashed a brutal combination that staggered Margarito, leaving his face swollen and bloodied. The crowd roared as the fight began to take a one-sided turn. Despite being battered, Margarito refused to go down. He kept coming forward, absorbing punishment, hoping to land one big shot that could change the fight. But Pacquiao was too fast, too skilled, and too precise. The championship rounds, a display of mercy. By the 10th round, Margarito's face was unrecognizable. His right eye was nearly swollen shut, his left eye wasn't much better, and his body had taken a severe beating. Pacquiao began looking towards the referee, signaling that Margarito had taken enough punishment. But the referee refused to stop the fight, allowing Margarito to continue taking unnecessary damage. At one point, Pacquiao even eased off, showing mercy to his opponent. He knew he had won, and he didn't want to inflict more damage than necessary. But Margarito, in true warrior fashion, refused to quit. A historic victory and a career-altering injury. When the final bell rang, there was no doubt about the result. The judges scored the fight 120 to 108, 118 to 110, and 119 to 109, all in favor of Manny Pacquiao. Margarito suffered extensive facial injuries, including a fractured orbital bone that required immediate surgery. The damage was so severe that he needed a titanium plate inserted to repair his face. The injury effectively ended Margarito's career at the elite level. Pacquiao, on the other hand, had once again proven why he was one of the greatest fighters of all time. He had taken on a much bigger opponent, dominated him from start to finish, and even showed compassion in the process. Aftermath. The end of Margarito's career. Margarito never fully recovered from the beating he took against Pacquiao. He fought only one more time, winning a controversial decision against Cotto in a rematch, but he was never the same. His vision problems persisted, and after a failed comeback attempt, he retired for good in 2017. Pacquiao, meanwhile, continued his legendary career, adding more world titles to his resume and further cementing his legacy as one of the greatest fighters in boxing history. Margarito's attempt at redemption. After the brutal loss to Pacquiao, Margarito tried to redeem himself in the boxing world. Despite suffering a career-altering injury, he pushed forward for one final chance at glory.
12 rounds of boxing in the welterweight division. Brought to you in association with HBO Pay-Per-View.
A rematch with Miguel Cotto in 2011. The fight was highly anticipated, as Cotto had been waiting for years to avenge his controversial 2008 loss. However, this time, there were no loaded gloves, just two warriors going toe-to-toe. But the result was clear. Margarito was no longer the same fighter. His right eye, permanently damaged from the Pacquiao fight, became a glaring weakness. Cotto systematically picked Margarito apart, targeting the damaged eye until the ringside doctor finally stopped the fight after the 9th round. The once feared Mexican warrior had nothing left to give. His career was effectively over, with his reputation tarnished forever. The loss to Pacquiao didn't just end Margarito's championship aspirations. It marked the beginning of the end for his time in boxing. Pacquiao's ultimate class act. Despite giving Margarito a beating that changed his career, Manny Pacquiao never showed any hatred toward his opponent. Even after the disrespect Margarito and his team had shown, Pacquiao never spoke ill of him. In fact, after the fight, Pacquiao revealed that he purposely held back in the later rounds because he didn't want to cause permanent damage. He had already seen Margarito's right eye swelling shut and knew he had done enough to win. Instead of going for the knockout, he let Margarito survive to the final bell, showing mercy even when he had every reason to punish his opponent further. Pacquiao's actions that night weren't just about winning the fight. They were about proving that true greatness doesn't come from power or size, but from skill, heart, and respect. That's why, even years later, Pacquiao is remembered not just as one of the greatest boxers of all time, but as one of the classiest athletes in sports history. The lesson of that night. The Pacquiao-Margarito fight wasn't just a boxing match. It was a lesson in respect, discipline, and karma. Margarito, a man who had cheated the sport and disrespected his opponent.
And at any time that big punch could land and just change it immediately. Then there's the cut fact. You get the southpaw against the right-hander.
That's right.
He was given a painful and humiliating reminder of what happens when you cross the wrong fighter. Pacquiao didn't just beat Margarito. He humbled him. And to this day, that fight remains one of the most brutal, one-sided, and unforgettable beatings in boxing history. Manny Pacquiao let his fists do the talking, and the message was loud and clear.